I just want to share with everybody that the speed in which change is happening, it's uncertain for everybody. It's the human condition, because a lot of people are pretending everything's fine, but in the back of your head, we've never had something move so exponential. Like we've come into, it was the printing press and then electricity and all the, the internet came and FedEx and fax machines and the evolution, but all of them kind of had this sweep, and the way it's the way it's moving now, just we're not used to it, and it's disturbing, and we should talk about that uncertainty later. But I love, because there's a way around that. There is a way around it to feel in control in a time when the world is out of control.
Yes.
But the question, I'm probably putting it off because I want to give a great answer to this.
What was the advice you gave your kids? One of your daughters is here now.
Yeah.
And she's 19. What was the advice you gave her, maybe 10 years ago about, your future and money and creation versus your kids now?
Yeah, great question. Here's what you're so good at. You're so good at pattern recognition. You interview so many incredible people and you take bits and pieces. And I love chatting with you because you'll have a little piece of Arthur Brooks and a little piece of this, and a little piece of that, and then you string them together, right? So if we switch, like, how do we separate it? Maybe it's like the art of life and the science of life. I'm just using, because they're two, we can visualize the difference. The science is, should I be an engineer? Should I be an IT programmer? Should I write code? Maybe code will go away because now an AI agent can build a code. Let's talk about the science in a second, because that's always changing, right? Haven't jobs been disrupted since the beginning of time? I mean, think about when farmers filled the land. In the 1800s, a farmer would take about 40 hours to plant an acre. And you figure if they had hundreds of acres, they had hundreds of people trying to do that. Think about when it changed and a tractor came out. A tractor could do the same acre in 30 minutes that used to take 40 hours. If you're farm workers, probably most of them, their jobs are gone. Uncertainty, that uncertainty has been happening. So let's take that as the science is always going to be changing. I'm still going to teach my youngest ones, my 5 and 3-year-old, the same as I taught them. You need to find something that you can go deep on, something that you roll your sleeves up, something that you don't dabble. You need to see where the world is going on the science side. You don't want to start a taxi cab company when Uber came out. You don't want to probably become a programmer right now or anything that could be moved through AI, because that's going to disappear. But there is other ways that you could get out in front of that. But without the foundational pieces that you've learned, that you've interviewed, that you've extracted from so many people, none of it works. So I'll give you 2 examples. My daughter, I knew she wasn't going to go to college, but I gave her the option. I said, there's 2 things you can do. You can go to college, experience it, or you can find something you love and model proven practices. Go mentor under somebody for 2 years, extract all their knowledge on how they were successful, how they overcome obstacles, how they embrace change, how they reduce overwhelm, how do they focus on one big solution. All those are common threads, no matter if we have AI, the economy goes up, goes down, high interest rates, low interest rates, inflation or not, you still need those foundational pieces. So probably nothing will change on the foundation of success. What I'll do is help them decide, where is the science going? Where is the future going? So we can see where the puck is and get out in front of it.
What's the greatest skill someone can learn today then that's different than 10, 20 years ago to set themselves up for financial success in the future?
Communication. I truly believe it's foundational, it's communication.
No matter what AI or what technology or software or inflation.
But if you think of where AI is going, right? If you think of where, I don't need to go down this rabbit hole huge, but all the things that AI is doing, programmers and coders been doing for a long time, but they would sit in a room and code forever. We didn't know that language. You and I couldn't go in and figure out how to build an app that that you used on your team to keep everybody there on time and what they should eat and what they should drink. Like, let's just say you wanted to do that. And if you wanted a cool app to keep everybody on your team organized, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you'd pay 10 programmers. It'd be hundreds of dollars every hour per programmer, take you months, you'd adjust it and tweak it. Today, if you know how to communicate and give good context, you could go talk to an agent on a Claude agent, communicate with the English language of what you want the outcome to be.
And it can make it.
And because of good communication, it'll build the same thing in 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, maybe it'll take you half a day, because you know how to communicate. So I think communication skills, people to people is still one of the most important things in the world. Communication, influence, persuasion, And now context and communication with AI that's going to help us go faster.
So learning communication skills, but it seems like it's hard for kids to learn that when they're glued to their phone constantly.
Yeah, that's an absolute fact. But I think you're asking if we're gonna help this next generation, we have to get them to look up from the phone and find a way to bribe them.
Yeah.
Like, as a parent, I bribe my kids. I bribe them to read books. I bribe them not to be on the phone as long. And then, that's a fun part of saying bribing them. But just like all of us, we all just need, even my kids, they need a compelling future. One thing I've helped my kids always do is create a compelling future that they're fighting for. And if they spend 5 hours a day on their phone, they're never going to reach that compelling future, right? And, I don't expect my kids to have the drive I have. I don't expect your kids. I know what you went through as a kid and where you grew up. I didn't grow up too far from where you did. Similar type area, similar type town. I went to school without lunch money. I got made fun of because my mom's car was so beat up and used to break down on the way to school and kids would pass on the bus. And I have that still inside. That broke kid still lives inside of me and I still fight. I know your work ethic, mine. I still work like I'm broke because I still feel sometimes like that. Kids, so you can't inherit that, but you have to find other ways to motivate a next generation. Your kids won't be motivated because they didn't have lunch money. They're never going to have that. They're never going to know a life without that. But they could be motivated not to live into their full potential. They could see people who've coasted their whole lives and they don't find happiness and joy. And I don't care if my son wants to be the best teacher in an entire school. I will support them. They don't have to be crazy entrepreneurs, but they need a compelling future. If not, you just drift.
So when kids grow up living in abundance, how do they learn to fight like they're broke?
I think for me, what I've used, a couple of analogies. One is my kids are always in sports. And I've always taught them, you don't win sports when everybody's watching. You know this better than anyone. You do it when no one's watching. It's when you're throwing 100 pitches out back when it's hot and nobody's there, right? So that I was able to do that through, I'll give an example. My son played baseball from 5 years old till 9th grade. He got into the hardest high school to get in. I give him credit. He got in all on his own, and they've been the state champion baseball team forever. My son, like me, didn't reach puberty in 9th grade. You saw him this year. He's 4'11", 90 pounds, tries out for the team, and he might have made it, but he got done with practice one day. He goes, "Dad, I'm not even 5 foot. These kids are 6 foot." Wow. And so many baseball players live in Phoenix, so that half the team was stacked with baseball players' sons, right?
Pro baseball players' sons.
I mean, you're Andre Ethier, who used to be the center fielder of the Dodgers for 18 years. His son's the pitcher throwing 88 miles an hour in 9th grade.
Crazy.
And, anyway, so he gets done with practice. He goes, "Dad, I'm not going to be able to compete on this." I'm like, "Cool, but what are you going to do? Whatever you decide, I got your back." He's like, "I think I'm going to take tennis." And what I told him was, if you're just going to dabble with tennis, you got to remember, you've been playing baseball since 5. Somebody's been playing tennis since they were 5. You're going to get your butt kicked when you go out there. You're going to have to deal with getting, and he did, and he got cut the first year he tried out. But that kid practiced 5 days a weweek, 4 to 5 days a week forever when no one was watching in Phoenix in the summer when it's hot. 110 degrees out. But I give him credit because I try to instill that they know they don't have to struggle like I did, but they have to struggle somewhere. So long story short, I'm just proud of him. He made the team. He's the captain of the tennis team now in 11th grade. Cool. He's 7-0 now. He has 7 games. He hasn't lost 7 of the tennis matches. But when people see him, I get so many parents. This last thing I'll say to me, "God, your son is so athletic. He picked it up like that." I'm like, no, I watched this kid sweat 4 or 5 days a week for 3 years, not to be the one that's like, "Oh, here comes Brody," right? And I think ways like that, we have to find ways. You're going to have to find ways to stretch them, to push them, to challenge them, because it's just different than having it in your face.
So it's creating that adversity for them consistently, not just giving them everything, making it easy, but creating that adversity for them. But how does someone develop a compelling future if they're always stuck in uncertainty? And if it seems so scary, the future that's coming in the next few years, when interest rates are rising so fast, when wars are happening, AI is just confusing to learn, even the basics. How am I going to get to learn the advanced stuff if I can't even learn the basics? In the next few years, it just seems so uncertain for people. How do you create a compelling future with so much uncertainty?
So here's a question. When you were sleeping on your sister's couch, right? I'm sure you had two visions of the earth, of the world.
Yeah.
One was, I'm guessing, you can tell me, was there a time where you would stack, I'm going to be here for forever. This is never going to work out.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing that
time,
on my
yeah.
sister's couch.
Yeah.
The world's moving faster than me. I don't have a full education. Isn't it easy
Yeah.
to stack all the things that could go wrong?
Yeah.
And wouldn't you say you felt that there wasn't, in moments, there was no compelling future for you, especially back then, maybe the internet was booming and you didn't get in, you didn't invest in the internet, you didn't even know how to. Was there that version of you?
Sure.
Was there ever a moment, it had to be, or else you wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
But there's also moments that you're like, I don't care about any of that. I'm going to focus on, I don't quit on stuff. I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
When I decide, and you are stubborn. That's what I love about you, right? Look what you do with your team. Like, you're stubborn, right? So there's another part who goes, I'm just not quitting. I don't care if they don't hear me now. They'll hear me someday. Like, we have both of those people that live inside of us. And there is evidence of both if we look at it. When you have a headache, you could go online and you could find and say, hey, no big deal, you're probably dehydrated, drink some water, or it's probably a brain tumor. You find what you're looking for, okay? The earth, the world has always been, we think these are the worst times. Go back in history. Would you want to live 200 years ago?
No.
Right now, if you go, hey, 200 years ago, there was no wars for 5 minutes. Would you want to go back? No. So I know this isn't easy, but it is. Here's the thing that I think this is one part of it. You're talking about a compelling future. The first thing is you have to realize you could stack all the things that go wrong to where your psyche's like, why should I do anything? Like, the AI is going to take my job, interest rates are going to go up, inflation's going to, why should I do anything? And right alongside of it, you could also stack all that could go right. Wow, what if I could use this innovation? What if I could use AI to not have to raise money, to not have to hire employees? What if I could finally unlock the creativity that's been living inside of me? What if humans actually put guardrails up and it doesn't go wrong? What if the wars stop? What if there is peace? Because whatever you focus on is what you're going to feel. When you were on your sister's couch, the day you focused on this is my life, this is going to be, you felt like crap, true?
Yes.
And then there was crazy days your sister was probably like, why is he in a good mood? He's got nothing going on. Because there was days you were like, this is only temporary. I'm not going to be here long. So I would just say at 57, now that I look at things, the negative side still comes up every day. It's not like, or every week, it's not like it just goes away and dies. You can just acknowledge it and say, I'm not going to stack the bad today. I'm going to stack that I'm blessed to be here. I can live another day. I can fight another fight. Listen, the last thing I'll say about this, I remember Wayne Dyer when he got diagnosed with leukemia. He was live on stage and I got the recording. Maybe Brendan or a friend gave me the recording. And he said, he was looking in the mirror when he first got diagnosed and he said, man, why do I have leukemia? It's because I drank when I was young and didn't take care of my body. And he said, he went weeks just like, why do I have this? And he just felt horrible. And he said, just one day, if you know anything about Wayne Dyer, just one day he looked in the mirror and goes, well, why am I thinking that? He goes, I'm going to be the crazy guy who beats leukemia. And he started telling himself all these things like, look at me, I'm going to be stronger with leukemia. I'm going to prove to everybody they could live with leukemia. And in the moment, his mind shifted. Now, he passed away not from leukemia. I think he had a heart attack. But he was saying that he'd been living now for 4 months with leukemia and he's happier than he'd ever been in his life. The leukemia diagnosis didn't change. His perception did. And I know this sounds like duh and it's harder to do, but is it that hard? If we could truly say, I could stack all the crap, why can't I stack the good? And that's the start of a compelling future. There's more things to it, but I think that's, with the news and the speed of which it's coming to us, if you're stacking the bad, you can't handle it all. Right now, you can't handle it all.
It seems so hard. And I think the moments that started switching for me is when I would just stack little wins showing that something else was possible. And it wasn't even like I was making money. It was more like, oh, I engaged with someone and they replied to me.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I got to say hello to a stranger and they wanted to
They thought my story was great.
Yeah, something else. It was just like, oh, moments of possibilities created this stacking of something compelling towards the future for me. It was like, okay, I'm learning a new skill. I overcame a fear. I didn't doubt myself as much today. It was just like stacking the positivities.
I know this sounds silly, but it's like Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
What are the chances you date me? 1 in a million. So you say it, I got a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but I mean, that sounds crazy, but you saw that. Like, I'm on the couch, I have no money, but this guy was interested in my conversation today. I'm going to take that. And because we all have to start someplace.
Yes.
I mean, it might sound easier like, Lewis and Dean, you're successful now, but all of us had the self-doubt. All
both
of us
weren't at one point.
No.
We were both broke at one point.
Yeah, broken and broke.
That's it. And there's something you talked about before in the previous episode we did. We talked about until you were in your 40s, I think, that you felt like a hand was around your throat until you were able to feel financially free. I think you mentioned this before. And I think a lot of people feel this. They feel like they don't have enough money, they're in debt, or maybe they have a little bit of money, but it's not enough for the future. And they feel like they're choking or they don't have enough breathing room. But sometimes people start making a little bit more money and they get breathing room and they create some financial freedom, but they stop pushing hard. Why do you think that is? Once people start to make a little bit of money, why do you think they all of a sudden stop pushing as hard when they feel more financially safe?
A really great question. If these sound like just worn out analogies, I'm sorry, but I still live these all the time in my head. I think we have to figure out our own operating system. Mm-hmm. There's certain things that drive you that may not drive me, and vice versa, right? Some people are motivated by the stick. Some people are motivated by the carrot. Some have both.
What drives you right now?
I probably would love to say that it's just carrot, but the stick drives me more than anything.
What does that mean for people?
Like the stick is like the whip or the carrot, like dangling the carrot. So for example, so I'm going to go back and remind me, I want to tell you something about my dad. But let's talk about that compelling future for a second, right? What drives you? It is purpose. It is the thing that you are so great at. It is the reason why you want to get there. So let's picture you have a toolbox and you start getting momentum. Your throat's not being choked, right? When I use that analogy is because I realized as a child, my mom and dad's entire conversations were around money. It's like, we can't make it to the kids' baseball games because we got to put overtime. We can't go on vacation because of that. We can't do this thing. I was in private school for 2 years until one day my grandmother paid it for 2 years. And then she said, now it's your turn, to my parents to pay for it. And they didn't. In the middle of school, they pulled us out and told us, your parents didn't pay. And we got evicted, right? So I watched my parents, without them realizing that everything revolved around money. And what I always said was, it's like they didn't realize they were being choked. They didn't realize how heavy it felt. And I use the analogy like, we don't think about the oxygen in this room, but if somebody choked you, that's all you would think about. When money is choked, you don't realize every decision you make is through that lens. And now people are saying like, duh, but how do I get it? But I think once you recognize that, then maybe that starts driving you to create a future that can pull you out of it. And nothing happens overnight. It takes time. It takes time to get in debt. It takes time to get out of debt. It takes time to get wealthy. But let me just share this, let's say this compelling future, right? If I use a silly, I was thinking of a toolbox. That's why it took me a minute. Is I'll reach in that toolbox for whatever I need to keep me moving forward. So it's not just a compelling future. It's not just if things go wrong. Whatever it takes to move you. Sometimes I'm motivated by what could be. Other times I'm motivated not to go backwards. So for example, in this toolbox, sometimes I might look at getting to the end of my life. And I don't know who I heard this from, but get to the end of my life and have my creator play me a video of the man I could have been. And I feel it though. I don't just say it. It's not just something I'm doing I literally feel of saying, yeah, you were inspiration to your kids. They moved forward. They saw their dad struggled, failed, got back up and kept going. And maybe I'm like, no, and I played small. I'll visualize that. And I visualize things like, if I see who I could have been, the lives I could have impacted, the things I could have done, the relationships I could have built, and I missed it, I always think to myself, the only wish I would have is to go back. And then I say, Dean, wish granted, you're here. Let's freaking go.
That's cool.
Right? But there's other times that might not even be enough. Now, I got to tell you, my dad was married 5 times. And it's okay for me to share this. He was physically abused and sexually abused as a child. Old school Italian guy, never got help, but he fought with everybody his whole life. He just had built-in anger, right? So 10 brothers and sisters, when he didn't talk to any of them. He didn't talk to his mother or father when they passed away. My sister hasn't talked to him in 22 years, his only other sibling. His ex-wives don't talk to him. I have empathy for this man, and now he's 90 and he's my dearest friend. I see him all the time, but he never fixed that. But the fact of the matter is, I watched my dad work hard, struggle, try to be a good dad, try to figure it out. This is gonna sound horrible, but you know what's in my toolbox when I really won't move? I'll say, if you don't do this, you're going to end up like your father.
Oh man.
Some people might say that's abuse. I don't keep it. It's like nitrous
yeah.
oxide in the
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
I hit the button, I get going fast, and I go, I'm parking that.
Yeah.
I can go back to a compelling future.
Sure.
But it's not easy. You need this toolbox full of things that drive you. I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to get to my end of life and feel like I coasted. I personally, and I think all of it, what keeps us alive is we feel alive when we grow. It doesn't mean millions and billions of dollars, just a better version today than I was yesterday. And when you do that, you feel alive. Nobody I don't care what anybody says. No one wants to coast. Right? No one wants to say, hey, you're making 80 grand a year. I'll give you 100 grand a year for the rest of your life. And all you have to do is sit and watch this field every day and you make 100 grand a year. I think so many people would jump on that and then a year in be like, I'm out. I'd rather make 40 grand on my own terms.
Right.
Right?
What's your thoughts about the fisherman story? The story of the fish, like the guy who's like catching fish every single day and then the businessman comes and he's
Tell
like,
me the story.
oh,
I never heard it.
I don't know the whole story.
Okay.
I think you've heard the story. It's
Okay.
like the guy, the fisherman in the village, and there's like a tourist that goes there and he meets the fisherman who he's like catching a fish. He seems super happy and he's like fishing on his little boat.
Oh yeah, got it.
And then he's like, oh, why don't you expand and get multiple boats and make more money? And then you could get investors and then sell one day. And he's like, well, then what? He's like, well, then you could have all this empire, the fishing empire.
But then what?
And then when you retire, you could come back and you could fish every single day and hang out with your wife and kids and play music and have a siesta and enjoy your life. I'm sure you've heard that story before, yeah. So what do you think about that story versus the need to be driven?
So I think growing.
Because there are people like that who live,
I might be misunderstood. I don't care if my kids are driven when it comes to finances and building businesses like I was. I'm partners with Tony Robbins, for gosh sakes. We're driven on impact. How many lives? I mean, every week we talk, how many lives did we touch this week? How many people's lives have changed? Like, it is obsessive sometimes, right? But that fits me. Like, I don't care if my kids ever care about building a business or being the fisherman that doubles and triples in 3 boats.
Yeah.
I want my kids to do whatever makes them happy. If they're happy on the boat, being out there every day, catching 10 fish and coming in, I'd be the happiest dad alive as long as they were growing. Because here, I'm just again, especially being partners with Tony and being in this industry for 30 years, the saddest people I see are the ones that set their life just in auto, just like on cruise control. And they think that this was good. And they get to the end and they're back saying, I need to feel alive. I didn't do enough. I had more to give, right? What did Dale Carnegie say? The greatest plight of the human race is knowing you have more potential and not utilize it. So the potential doesn't have to be building businesses, but you gotta stretch yourself. You gotta learn, you gotta grow. I know you, and maybe it's a bad example. I have never seen a learner like you in my life. When you came to our mastermind, it was 4 or 5 months ago, I watched you take notes like you knew half the stuff. You were taking notes like you didn't know any of it.
Sure.
Didn't you feel alive after that weekend?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this and you want more inspirational content, make sure to click the subscribe button below and click right here to watch what's coming next.